As I tell my children year after year when I was teaching school, this is probably the best class I've ever had. Or I would say it's only a problem if you make it a problem, when they would forget their lunch money. So let's make this a good lesson on God's love. Every day I try to exercise at the Cloverleaf Caring Conversation Center, which we used to be called the Rec Center, but we now changed the name. And we see lots of our friends there every day, like Mickey and Ruth and Connie Cray and Al and Martha Zona and Ruth. And they go there to exercise, and we check on one another every day. And that's one way of showing God's love. And I'm sitting here in my happy place in my family room because I come here every day to think about the prayer list at church. I pray for the people in the church. I send cards to the people in church. I write in my journal and put all my blessings from the day in my journal. And I listen to church music, and I read a lot, and I write poems. And let me tell you about my poetry writing. I got interested in writing poetry when I was in the 3rd grade, when I won a poetry contest for my poem called The Mousetrap. And I can even quote it for you. Daddy set a trap last night for the rats and the mice, and when I went to look today, there was one and one to stay. And I enjoyed poetry so much, I used it when I was teaching 3rd and 4th grade to teach language arts. And now, since I retired, I've written poetry about the things that I like to do in my spare time. And one of the first ones I wrote was The Secret Garden, because I have one behind my house. And I wrote one about the old covered bridge, because Bill and I like to go hunting covered bridges. And I've written a poem, probably one poem every month since I retired. And I find a lot of joy in doing that. And I have practiced positive thinking since 1982, when I had my first heart cath. And it was for stress and anxiety, they decided. But I've learned through the years that positive thinking really does help. It helps us to show God's love to everybody. And I began journaling every day and putting down my blessings every day. And that helps me. One of our latest challenges has been to grow old gracefully. And we have realized that it is what it is, and to go with the flow. As you get older, you kind of have to put up with things the way they are. And we'd like to volunteer more than we do, but we've had to change that too. We've had to change what we can do. But we do try to encourage other people. And I've even taken up learning to crochet prayer cloths now as my newest thing for fun. I wrote this poem following Dr. Bell's sermon on Sunday the 3rd of June when she preached on the fruits of the Spirit. And I call this one Unfolding Faith. As the Spirit works in my life, I see the world in a different way. Aging has slowed me down. My ministries are fewer these days. Some days I'm the suffering servant. Other days I rejoice in His love. I find joy and peace and faithfulness as His grace flows down from above. It's difficult to serve like I used to. Some days I feel useless and sad. I can't do the things I'd like to do, but kindness still makes me feel glad. As I follow the Master, I'm changing. There's too much to gain to give up. I'm transformed by His grace every day as His blessings overflow in my cup. That's it. That's the end of today's lesson.